Welcome to the Berks Homes podcast. We're in the business of building homes. I'm Stephanie O'Hara, the COO with Berks Homes, and I'm here today with some of our sales agents, and we're going to be talking about something we introduced to the sales team at the beginning of the year, and it was a mindset and kind of like our mantra for the year, and we called it a locked in. And so these young ladies that are with me today, they are newer to the real estate industry. So they've all been in the industry less than 5 years. And so we're just going to talk today about what it has meant to them to be embracing the locked in concept and what it's meant to them and how they've implemented some of the things we've talked about into their day to day. So we're going to kick it off. So guys, welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. So when we introduced the locked in at the beginning in our sales rally in January, what were just some of the things that you took away from not just that day, but the overall concept of what locked in means to the team?
For me, I think that I really focused on being committed, and it made me, my mindset focused on commitment and just on my goals and what it takes to get there and just that consistency to achieve those goals.
So good point. I mean, locked in stands for lead, own, commit, and keep going. So you kind of stuck with the commit piece of it. That's what kind of resonated with you.
Definitely. Yep.
Okay. Anybody else?
First of all, you guys poured into us so much that day. So it definitely hyped us up to keep going. But when I left, I definitely had the mindset of just staying busy and converting leads. But today I feel like it's more of capturing the story and having that, deep conversation with your clients and not just converting leads to convert.
A great takeaway. And you're one of the newer, agents on the team. So you had maybe just like a little bit more to absorb at that event. So I appreciate that.
So like when I first heard that mention of like locking in, I always thought it was like staying focused, being driven. I now look at it as being very intentional day to day. I use it even at home and then at work, kind of setting up like the intentionality of everything I do day to day, from prospects to realtor relations, connections, and even with my team. Being intentional is like the strongest part.
That's a good segue, because the reason my team came up with introducing locked in was because we knew that the sales environment this year was going to look a lot different, right? So over the past 5 years, it's been changing rapidly with the affordability issues and some of the things you guys are challenged with on a day-to-day basis. And we really felt like to be ahead of that curve and to be able to address some of the challenges that are in the market, that we had to have this kind of mindset. Do you guys agree that was
Absolutely?
Okay? So we talked at that rally, like what commitment did you make to yourself the day that you left? And I think you said just being more committed to it. But we kind of had a takeaway. I don't know if you remember at the end of that day, we're like, what was one thing you were going to try to maybe master by the end of the year? What were some of those things that you guys, told yourself, this is what I'm going to do this year to just stay on pace with sales?
Mine was growth. I really this year wanted to dive into learning more, growing more. I spent 3 years in a community sales environment. I just completed a 30-day training program with our On Your Land team here at Berks, and really just becoming a sponge over that 30-day period. And every day I've learned something new. So you get comfortable with consistency. So I challenge everyone to step into a phase of growth, and I feel like I've developed and learned a ton just in the 30-day training period. So I'm excited to see where the rest of the year goes with growth.
Yeah, that's part of like the own concept of it too. Like we own our growth. Like if we're choosing not to, we can pour into you guys, but if you're choosing not to pour into yourself, then you're going to limit the growth that you have. And so that's interesting that you're putting it that way.
I'll piggyback off of her as well, because you're not, like you said, the market's always changing and evolving, and you have to adapt with it. And so that's another thing that I really love about Berks Homes is you guys invest a lot of money in our trainers, and our trainers provide really great in-depth information for us to take and actually make our own as well. So I'll say the exact same thing, is just, learning and, evolving with the market that we're in and taking the sales skills that we're taught and applying it to the field.
I think for me, this was like my personal goal when the new year started. And then with this locked in, it also kind of, I honed in on it, just being objective about everything, because I take things so personally. And I just feel like sometimes it's like I have to take a step back and realize like I just need to meet people where they're at and, kind of help them through situations without taking it so personally. Yeah.
So you mentioned training, and I feel like I have to give a shout out. So we've had the pleasure of working with Phil McShan, Insider Innovations, for 3 years, and I know he's poured a lot into you guys, and it's just been a joy to see, you know, the progress that you've made implementing, you know, his way of teaching us how to sell. And then we had the privilege of working with Ryan Taft this year, gave us a little bit of a different perspective on the storytelling and getting the story and how we can, you know, how that helps us be a better salesperson. So I appreciate you guys are really like taking all of that information and putting it into navigating the difficult world of sales that we're in right now. What's one habit or behavior you think you might have changed this year as a result of being locked in?
For me, I feel like I just really focused on like my calendar too, like making sure that I'm using my time wisely and just really focusing on my best use of time and how to help.
I've really been diving into the story,
Okay.
learning more and more about why people are here, what brings them to us, instead of focusing on the house, the land, focusing on the buyer, the homeowner, what they want, where they've been, what they need is more important. And I feel it's more like meaningful and rewarding in the end when we are learning more about the story.
I'm pretty much the same, like with personalized emails, just really trying to set myself apart from my competition, because in the communities that I'm in, I do have a lot of competition. So I want, you know, buyers when they walk through our door to feel differently than they do going to J. Myers or Lennar or whoever, you know, whatever builder is around. So I think that's been one of the biggest goals that I have this year, is just trying to set myself apart. How can I make this interaction different than the other builders that they've shopped with? And how can I, you know, build a deeper connection with them versus anyone else? So
yeah, I think if we go back to lead, which is part of the locked in, we know now, but just even with like some of the trainings and the things that we're hearing and what we have to do to sell in the market today, like I talked to you guys a lot about this, our biggest differentiator is us, right? And so I'm loving to hear that you guys are really like taking that to heart. It's not necessarily about the floor plan, even the mortgage payment. Sometimes it's about the trust that they have in Berks Homes, but it's ultimately about the trust that they have in you as the representative of Berks to take them through that transaction. So tell me a little bit about how that makes you feel when you start to work with someone and you're really trying to, you know, get to know their story, but also, you know, build that rapport and build that trust. Once you have that, right, and you're, you know, what does that mean to you guys as being a salesperson? Like, how impactful is that to your process? And
Yeah, I feel like, for instance, I had an appointment last night and just meeting people where they're at. Like I said earlier, this woman came in and she was just very blunt. So I like to mirror personality. So I became very blunt at that moment. And she was like, I want the cheapest floor plan. Like, I have a budget. So obviously I asked, like, what's your budget? And so 430, no more than that. I'm like, well, if you listen to me, then I will get you there. And if you trust me. And so we went through the whole thing and we got her right at 430. And at the end, it felt so rewarding because they listened to me and I was very upfront with them. And the mom said, you know what, this process has been so great with you. And like, you made the difference. And like, just how you were saying, like, we truly do make the difference.
yes, 100%.
Yeah, so it's really neat when you work with these folks because you're in a home build for about 6 months. You're on the phone weekly, sometimes daily with these folks, and you start to grow a connection. You get to know their children, you get to know their pets' names, and then at the end of the build, you hand over keys, and you're like, oh, we don't get to talk every single day anymore. And it's kind of a little heartbreaking, but you see them in the community every day. So it's so rewarding to like create a friendship with the people that we serve every day.
And it makes the process just way easier and smoother when you have a friendship with your buyers. Because to your point, I mean, it's a 6-month process. So, you know, gaining that trust on the front end and having that friendly conversation that's just not just like surface sales level, I think is, it makes the process way different than just transactional.
With the trust that you guys are gaining and the way that Berks sells, right? And I think that's another part about being locked in. We're locked in about our processes and we're locked in about being the best sales team that we can be, but we're not that team that is only about sales, right? I think part of this concept talk, in my opinion, and I'd like you guys to tell me what your opinion is that when you say meet people where they're at, that might mean this isn't the time for them to buy, right? Because you're you want them to trust you, and you're not trying to coerce a sale to happen. You're really trying to create that relationship and be able to have those. Maybe you guys are commissioned salespeople, right? You want to make a sale, but you know that I'm going to get this person eventually, and be able to navigate some of those challenges, as you go. I think that's another part about being locked in. You know that it might not resonate with a sale today, but you know that you're going to stay connected with them because you've got their story, right? And you're ultimately know they potentially will buy into Berks, and they've bought into you. But having that confidence in that moment to be like, I know this isn't the best thing for them today. How do you guys navigate some of that, right? Because I know it happens all the time.
We build communities. We have multiple phases in our communities. I would rather earn the relationship today than the sale. I know that in phase 4, it's probably better timing for them. They'll be able to get exactly the lot that they want. I'd rather gain the relationship than them to go to AB Builder somewhere else and be the relationship with us.
I feel like going along with that too, it's like, because we're building that relationship, we take notes and we remember these things. And then I like to have that conversation. Like, I know right now is not the best time, but is it okay if I check in with you like once a month, and just kind of, even if it's not about the house, like I know they're not ready in a month, but I'm like, hey, how's your kid? I know she just like graduated, like just having those conversations. And it's a long process, but it's just a part of
The results are at the end,
right?
though, right?
Exactly.
I just had a appointment last week, and they were looking to buy next June, which means that we're going to have to start the build in December, January. And I didn't push them whatsoever. I educated them on what the next phase is going to look like as much as I could. And we had probably a 2-hour appointment just talking more than what we probably could have talked about, right? Because when you're talking about a next phase, you don't really know much about it. But they, after, sent an email to Kelly telling them how much at home I made them feel. So just being personal and understanding what their needs are. And I think that's just going to set the trust apart from any other builder,
And that's part of the keep going, right?
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes in sales, we're like, I want the immediate gratification in this moment, delaying that gratification because you know that it's the right thing to do, right? I think that's what I really appreciate as Berks Homes philosophy is that, we want to sell homes, but we want to, make people's dreams come true. And that sometimes means having a difficult conversation to say, we're here for you. Come back to us when you're ready. But we have by the keep going piece of it, we're going to nurture them throughout the entire process. If you could give one piece of advice to a teammate who is struggling to stay locked in, what would it be?
I think our core values say, play as one. We're one team. Me, I'm still so new. So like, I am always calling on my teammates to help me, or my sales manager, because that's what we do to stay motivated. Like if I see that Madison just did an insane basket drop at a fire station yesterday, I want to do that now,
Right.
Because she's getting the word out.
I feel like just be yourself. I know with all this training that we've had, that's like the biggest takeaway is just to be yourself. And I feel like locking in would be a lot easier if it's just more natural. So like remaining in your own comfort zone, but still locking in on, your goals.
I just challenge my teammates to grow every day, regardless of where you're selling, what you're selling, to grow in some way, to pick something that you don't know and reach out to a friend and say, hey, let's teach me about this. Because I think growing keeps us from staying stagnant. And in this market, we have to be adaptive, and we have to change, and we have to grow. I think that keeps us fluid.
I think with like both of like how you guys said, like I feel like we do a really good job as a sales team to like lean on each other too. Like
you have to.
Every single day we're learning something new. It's just like, it's crazy. And I know one of my teammates has dealt with that before. So I think that's a really good point that you guys made.
Yeah.
We really help each other out.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the pace of change in our industry has definitely ramped up, I would say, with the changes in technology and the market changes itself. We've had to introduce a lot of change to you guys. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, I feel like probably sometimes it feels like it's a little bit overwhelming, but with the changes that we're implementing, how do you feel about where we're going?
I feel like a lot of the technology you've implemented has made us stronger in a sense. Like we have the Novi Home app now, which has been a game changer for my buyers. They love the feeling of feeling so connected to their home build. And most of my clients didn't live in the area, so they were able to be a part of the home build every step of the way just by getting those photo updates and communicating, which was off the charts with group chats between the supers and myself.
I think so too. And going along with that, I think it's been a lot easier for our customers just having everything in that one app, like even after they move in.
Correct.
Like it's
the
like
warranty.
right, exactly. So I think that that's like helped not only us but our customers. Like I think it's been a really easy transition.
We chose to get into a career that is ever changing with AI. Like if you can't adapt, then sales is just not made for you. You have to adapt to the new way of time, to the new generation. You know, as you get older, the newer crowd's going to come in and start buying houses, so you have to learn how to talk to them and, you know, adapting to AI and technology. So I think it's great because I think sales is about adaptability.
What's kind of neat though too is like we live in a world where everything's so fast paced and changing. You're constantly trying to learn. I had a woman the other day, she only has a home phone. So we set up an in-person appointment, and it was really nice to kind of like slow down and step back and kind of take things from a different aspect and learn from a different angle, which is really special.
Only a home phone.
Only a home phone. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Covered a lot of ground here, guys. As you see yourself navigating the remainder of this year, and we're going to continue focusing on being locked in, did you set us a goal for yourself of like where you wanted to be at the end of the year? And I'm not talking about how many sales or something, but how are you going to keep the locked in mindset like living with you throughout the remainder of the year? What types of things do you think you'll be doing?
I definitely want to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable, like putting myself in more positions to ask more questions, being in a new role, like learning more and more about the land development side and feeling more comfortable and confident to go and ask the people who do know more questions to learn and learn more.
I think for me, just continuing to grow even outside of my sales role, but I think I've told my manager and my peers this, I just want to learn everything about all the other departments too, so I can better assist the process, because what am I doing that affects them and vice versa. So I want to like be locked in on just like the growth of that.
Likewise, definitely. I think being able to speak on the construction and the quality of our build is huge. I hit my first year August 4th. So like next month. Yeah. But I feel like I still have so much to learn and so much more to perfect outside of like just sales when it comes to new construction. So definitely locking in on exactly what you said, like outside of our department, but also learning how to get more creative too with financing too. Because I think, you know, as times progress, being able to help people out of financial challenges, how much I can before having to nurture that for when they're ready, I think is really important too.
So I really appreciate you guys want to learn more about the company. I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you how many years I've been in this industry because we're not going there, but it never ends, okay? So, I mean, the learning gap, even the changes in construction that happen from year to year, we are in an industry where it's just a constant evolution of new product and new processes. And so you'll always be challenged to continue to learn different aspects. I think, is there, and I'm just throwing this out there because I'm curious, the bond that you guys have to have with your construction team, right? Like that's another piece that is critical to the success of the customer experience, right? And we are trying to build and really build out that relationship. Do you think that the locked-in mindset and some of the things we've talked about has helped you foster a better relationship with your superintendents so that the customer experience overall has improved?
I think so too. I'm lucky enough that we've always kind of had a really good relationship, but I do think that this locked-in mindset kind of like brings it back to the basics and like making sure that we're doing meetings and checking, you know, just staying locked in on the necessities of what we need to do together.
On the touch points, like we're definitely hitting like our handoffs and things like that, you know, circling back to making sure that they're happening. And
they're so busy themselves to like kind of like rein them in sometimes because they're out in the field all day long in the heat. So yeah.
Well, I think like that's a good point too, because I know it's so hot out there and they're busy, and I think a way that I've kind of like, and I'm sure we all are doing this, but like the way I've kind of locked in and fostered those relationships is like, what can I do to help
you?
Like, what can I take off your plate to make it easier for you?
Right. Yeah. And don't you think, I mean, we're talking about specifically like locked in, but I think what the different things you're just talking about and the relationships that you have with like the other departments, to me, that just speaks to the culture of Berks Homes, you know, how we develop our teams and how we work together. And I know you said, we talked about some of our core pillars this year, like build as one team. And I think we've all as a company really leaned into that concept, but we can always do more there, right? Do you feel the same way that some of the things that the Locked In has, but also other pieces that we're tying together, really take us back to the fundamentals of what makes Berks different, right?
Even in our
Absolutely.
region, we feel it's like a family, like we say,
Mhm.
like our central family. We even feel it all the way from this office here, like even though we're a couple hours away,
Right.
it's a family.
Right. Yeah.
Truly. How
Oh,
we
I
feel.
make sure to tell all of the clients that walk through our door that this is a family-owned business. We do
Yeah.
everything together.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You feel the same way?
I do. Yep.
Okay.
We're all, like I said in the beginning, I feel like I could just reach out to anyone and like they're gonna be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, I think, again, that goes back to our differentiator that we have in the marketplace. We're not too process heavy, that we can't still navigate some of the nuances that come up with every job, right? I mean, that, again, that just goes back to the industry. But I also think tying that all back to, you know, let's go back to the helpful, humble, aware, and driven, right? Those are our core values as a company. And I think you guys emulate that every day. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for being here today,
Thanks for
ladies. I
having
really
us.
appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to add before we part ways today?
I am just very grateful for everything you guys have poured into us. Like they've kind of already said, just all the training and helping us get, you know, comfortable in the industry.
I wouldn't want to work anywhere else. Like, this is the place to be.
All
So
right.
Yeah, I appreciate the trust that you put into us, so your clients.
yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.